G'day and welcome to the third video in this series on shoemaking. Today we're going to be designing our shoe. So the style we are making is called a derby. So a derby is one of the most simple types of shoe, and it's defined as having rear quarters that go over the vamp and a tongue that's attached to the vamp. They generally also have a back strap of some description. So, with this construction style, you can make this, or ladies' shoe like this, a boot, desert boots like these ones I made, or even Converse. These are constructed in the same way as a pair of dress boots like this. So it's a very versatile style. So let's get started. Now there are two main points to consider when you're designing a derby. You have this point here where the stitching from the upper onto the vamp ends, because that controls where it opens up and how much it opens up, and the height here, which goes around your heel. Now I have made mistakes in the past on both of these. So on this pair of shoes, this height is too low, and so it doesn't curve up and around my heel enough, which means that as I'm walking it keeps trying to slip off, which is very uncomfortable and very annoying. Whereas on this pair, I went much higher, brought that curve in, and it never falls off. The issue with these ones though is that I messed up this point and made it too high. So it doesn't open up enough to be able to get your foot in easily. So what I did on the next pair was I brought this down to about here, which changes the look of the shoe a bit, but it makes it wearable. So those are the two main things. So let's make a start on drawing on this last. So we have our last we've covered in masking tape. The first thing you need to do is draw a center line right down there and also down the back. Now this isn't part of the shoe, it's part of the pattern making process, so that's where we're going to cut it off later to spread it out. Then once you've done that, the next part is to start with your heel height. So taking into account the mistake I made on this pair, I'm taking this one higher. So previously it might have been down there, whereas on these, I'm going up as high as I can on this last and just making a mark there. The next part is the opening up point. So again, taking into account what I learned on this and also having a look at previous pairs that I know fit well, like this one, I have drawn in a spot there. So the easiest way to do this is to look at a pair of shoes that you already own, that you know fit really well, and just copy it across. It doesn't matter if the overall look is different, you're really just concerned with that opening point. So once you have those 2 points, you can start drawing in your shoe. So I've gone on the side here, I'm going for a bit of a dress shoe, and so this line here, rather than cutting straight down like this pair, which is more casual, I'm going for a bit of a sweep, so a big curve, then coming down straight about here. So I'll just draw that in. Now, in the last video, I did do this, but I lost all of the audio from that. So I have already drawn the design on this shoe, but I'm just redoing it now. So now that I've got that in there, I'm pretty happy with that curve. I reckon that will look nice. It'll look dressy without looking too exaggerated. From there, I'm coming straight up. So if you can imagine going straight up from the base to not quite the center. See, when the laces come together, you want to have a little bit of a gap like that. So I'm bringing it up and I'm leaving maybe a 15mm gap between the two rear quarters. I'm going to put a little curve in there and then come straight up parallel with that center line we drew earlier. Right, now I just have to connect that line we just drew with the top of the heel that we drew at the start. So I'm putting a tiny curve here. If I didn't have a curve and had a sharp edge, that would just end up being dog-eared. So I'll put a curve there to smooth that out, and then sweeping it under the ankle bone. Not sure what it's actually called, but you'll notice on most shoes they have a cutout here, and that is to go around the bone that normally sits about there. So I'm doing a slight curve under, like so, and that's the rear quarter drawn in. That's most of the shoe really. The only bit remaining is the back strap. So this one, the shoe's a bit rough, but you get the idea. It starts narrow and bulges out wide at the bottom. I'm not a huge fan of this look. I reckon it looks better bulging out further up, but that is a bit of a personal style. One thing to note is the smaller the back strap, the more discreet it is, which can work better on dress shoes. Whereas on a boot like this, I've made a feature of it and made it really wide. So this is more casual, whereas a slimmer, more discreet back strap is a bit dressier. So on this pair, I am going for more of a dress shoe. So I'm going to start at the top, about 20mm wide. So 10mm from that line, the center line. I'm going to, it's going to be difficult to show, go straight down for a bit, and start curving outwards, and then curve in and end up going straight down. So at the base, it's about 50mm wide there, and it started about 20. That 50mm may be too much. I may want to change it later. I may want to change it after I've made the shoe, but for this particular pair, I think that will be okay. So that's what we're running with. So what we've done, we've drawn that center line. We've drawn the heel height here to go over your heel bone to make sure it won't slip off when you're walking. Drawn in the opening point there to ensure that your foot can easily get in and out. Drawn that curve, which is mostly just a visual thing. This line, curving around, running up, leaving a little gap there for the laces, and just curve it in there under the ankle bone. The only thing left is to just draw in little dots for your lace holes, like that. Once you've done one side, replicate it on the other. That will give you a good idea of what the final shoe will look like. Once you've got it all drawn in, have a look at it, compare it to shoes that you like, see if it's going to work, if it's good. And once you've actually drawn all those details in, then we can cut this off, lay it out, and make the actual pattern pieces. We're done. I'll see you next time.